Welcome to another episode of Cancer Tamer. I'm your host, Dr. Charley Ferrer, and today we have a very special guest all the way from New York City, Sylvie Beljanski, who will be talking about some very important research information and also learning a little bit about her dad, who's very important information and individual that was working on molecular studies and ways that we can work with our bodies trying to fight cancer. And of course with me is our co-host.
Hi, Debra Santulli-Barone. Great to be back.
Yeah, welcome, Sylvie.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be with you both today.
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to do is ask you a little bit about the Beljanski Foundation and what that's about. If you can give us a little information.
Well, thank you for asking. Indeed, the Beljanski Foundation, I'm so happy to be here today because we are marking this year the 20th anniversary of the foundation, which was created here in New York City in 1999. The purpose of the foundation is to do research on cancer with natural compounds, and to study them in a very, very scientific way in conjunction with great American institutions.
And so when you say natural compounds, what exactly do you mean?
Plant extracts, for example, or natural bacterial RNA fragments, nothing synthetic.
Okay.
You know, a lot of research is being done by pharmaceutical companies on cancer, and it's always done on synthetic molecules. Why? Because synthetic molecules are patentable, so there is an incentive for return on investment for pharmaceutical industry, and it's an industry, so they have to look for return on investment. But a non-for-profit can do something else. And that's where, you know, it becomes very interesting.
And so just wanting to make or notice the fact that you said they can patent the synthetic compounds.
Yeah, the FDA can approve it and everything.
Right,
wow.
but you can't patent nature.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, you can't patent ginseng or apples,
right?
You know, but you can patent certain formulas or certain synthetics.
Yes, yes, and you can also, you know, have some weak patents about extraction process or formulation, complex formulation, and so on. But it is not the biggies that are interesting for pharmaceutical companies. So they are not looking so much at natural compounds, and it doesn't mean that it's not good for your body and good for your health. So it's kind of, you know, a cornucopia of good things that Mother Nature has given us and is almost, you know, untapped.
Right.
Are these compounds taken from all over the world or certain countries?
So my father looked at a lot of compounds and he tested them to really focus his investigation on those which would seem the most effective, and he was also looking always for compounds that would be not toxic. That was really, really important to him. So he focused on a plant from the Amazon, coming from you know, South America, different countries. It's available in Brazil, Peru, Bolivia, Argentina. It's all there. It's called Pau Pereira, and behind this barbarian name there is a little molecule that is actually has shown ability to work at the level of the DNA, and you have one DNA from head to toe. So stop thinking about, you know, one molecule for one organ. Okay. It works. It's not going to be gender or organ specific. It's going to work whether you are a male or a female, whether you have, you know, prostate cancer, bladder cancer, breast cancer, brain cancer, because the blood supply will bring it wherever there
it's
is
needed.
a cancer molecule.
And so I want to backtrack just a little bit and talk a little bit about your dad and who your dad was, because I think, you know, I got a little information here, and I read some information about your dad, and I found him so fascinating, especially at the time that he was doing his research.
Indeed.
And so if you can please tell us a little bit about your dad.
Sure. My father, Dr. Mirko Beljanski, was a PhD in molecular biology. He was working at the Pasteur Institute in Paris, France. So it was really the realm of the establishment. But back at the time, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you know, all the scientists were looking at the development of engineering drugs that will make, you know, some kind of shift the biotechnology level, because that is patentable. Right. So that's where they're all looking at that. And my father said, no. Cancer doesn't have to result from a mutation at the level of the genome. It can also result from a cumulative destabilization of the DNA because of environmental toxicity. And back at the time, you know, nobody was really speaking of toxicity of the environment.
Not at all. That's where the pollutants came in, and nobody stopped it.
And nobody wanted to hear about it, because that would, you know, means liability.
Right.
So they tried to shut him down as much as he could, but he persevered, and he published 133 peer-reviewed papers. And his work now is being held by other scientists who publish about him and about what his discoveries and what his legacy.
And I found it fascinating when I was reading some information that he was actually arrested for the work that he was doing, and looking at it from a different perspective of what was the norm.
What happened is that as he published his results on natural molecules that could help people with cancer, he got the interest of a lot of French doctors at the time, and those doctors started to use the products with great success. And back in the early 90s, the former French president was François Mitterrand at the time, was diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. So the surgeon came at the French White House, opened and said the cancer has spread everywhere, and there was no way that the president would be able to finish his second term. He said, we are going to put him under morphine and prepare the country for early elections. But Mitterrand had a mistress. That happens also in France. Surprise.
Those are great mistresses out there, right?
And the mistress knew about a good doctor who had great results with my father's products. And Mitterrand started to take the products and was able to finish his second term. But just a few months after Mitterrand finally passed away, they sent a SWAT team. Not the police.
Oh, a SWAT team?
A SWAT team.
Oh, SWAT?
SWAT team.
Oh, SWAT. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
It was not the police. It was the army who came with machine guns, with dogs, with an helicopter circling the laboratory to arrest my father, arrest my mother, arrest a number of doctors, arrest the pharmacists who were working with them, arrest the staff who was working there. And they seized everything they could. It was really, really about destroying not only a man, but also a research. Yeah. And it is important to know that my father's laboratory at the time was the only independent laboratory working on cancer.
Oh. In France or all over?
No, in France.
In France, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So it is amazing because when you look at it now, so many new doctors, so many more modern, I should say, doctors are actually looking at the molecular structure of the body, how stem cells are working within, how to combat cancer from a more holistic perspective, like using your own genes in order to fight the cancer, and being able to get it to, to have the cancer die within itself like it's supposed to. Because one of the things that we've talked about before is the fact that everyone has cancer cells in their body.
Right.
If you're healthy, the body automatically sheds them. The cells do apoptosis, which is the cell dies and it gets clean from your body, and you make new cells. When you're not healthy, then the cells accumulate, and that's where you get your cancer growth. And so now they're doing a lot of work with having your own body do medicine that works with your body.
Right, targeted medicine, as they call it.
Targeted therapies.
Yeah, targeted.
One of the things that we had talked before we started the show as well was, I remember when I was first diagnosed, and I was going in to look at all the different possibilities and how to do healthy approaches. I believe that everyone has a right to choose the way they want to deal with this disease and talk to their doctors about what treatment is best, what options are available.
Right, and make your own decision.
Right, not just your standard chemo and radiation, but also about doing other parts, other holistic, treatments and holistic practices, including, healthy foods, healthy eating, supplements, teas, things like that. And so what I found fascinating and terrifying was, I was explaining to you that one of the articles that I had read when I was first diagnosed actually said that I was going to die in 2 years, because it was normal for somebody to have breast cancer and die in 2 years, and don't believe this.
That's true.
But as I read through this whole paper, like 3 pages long, at the bottom it said, but if you take these supplements,
you're going to live.
You're going to live, for $49.99. It'll help. And so I guess one of the reasons that I brought that up is also, we do need supplements in our lives if we're not eating fully healthy.
Right, or if your immune system isn't well, you have to build your
and so how does that work?
I would say you need supplements even if you eat healthy, because the soil now is so depleted that it doesn't bring you the vitamins, the enzymes that it used to. When you think of our grandparents, they were eating organic without knowing it.
Right.
There was nothing was labeled organic, but everything was.
And they didn't have GMO back then.
Exactly, and they did not have, Roundup and other things like that. That are now you see all those ads, but saying, warning you that how dangerous those chemicals can be. So we need now to supplement our body with natural vitamins. There is a big difference between natural vitamins and synthetic vitamins. They are not absorbed at all the same way by the body. And it's really important to give our immune system the strength it needs to fight back against the attack of the ongoing pollution. So yes, I would say that we all need supplements. Now, I hate to hear about those scare tactics that can give kind of bad rap to the dietary supplement industry. And that's why I am so in love with what the Beljanski Foundation is doing, which is doing research, scientific research by the best organization in the States, because that, I believe, brings credibility to natural compounds. And this credibility may change the outlook, the way people are looking, as natural products. Say, yes, maybe there is something in there. Right. That's why the research needs to be done really rigorously, like if it was a drug.
Right, because you always do hear, well, it's scientifically proven, and it's one of those pieces where you always hear, or at least I always hear, oh, well, that hasn't been proven yet, or
so they can't.
You don't know if acupuncture
works.
Right. You don't know if taking extra vitamin D because you have these medicines, or the fact that you're not even given the information, I think, because a lot of the information that we've gotten is because we've gone out and looked for it.
We read
and
a lot.
people don't know that you need to go and look for it. So for instance, one of the things that I remember right at the beginning was if you drank peppermint tea, it would help with nausea. And so understanding how some of the different tea products that you drink can also help you.
Absolutely.
You know, and so
Right,
there
if
is
it's natural.
one that
If it's a natural one,
Yeah,
not
no,
synthetic,
but-
right, or whatever.
exactly.
Like some people put in oils that are synthetic oils with the fragrance or whatever, and that's not natural. So,
well, that's
you know.
not a tea either.
Well, I've heard of things like that, though. Really, yeah, it's crazy.
They put some synthetic aroma. For
Yeah.
example, in some mint teas, there is no mint at all.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But if we have to break it down, so I want to understand. So your foundation is the Beljanski Foundation.
Yes, the Beljanski Foundation, not named after me,
Right.
but named after my father. It's a 501c3 located, based here in New York City.
Okay. And so how would one, if one wanted to get healthy, I wanted to get healthy, I have different diseases, who do I go to find out more about your research and see, is there anything out there that I can take? Like, is there a person, do you deal with doctors, your doctors? Do you have doctors at your foundation that would see patients?
So we have a number of doctors who are familiar with the research that the Beljanski Foundation is doing, understand the compounds that are behind the research, and are recommending products accordingly to their patients. Yes.
Oh, so they do meet with patients.
Doctors, but they are all actually they are several countries, not just this.
So they provide. So you provide the information to the physicians that they can then use the
Yes.
different the different products or the different information and combinations of things to be able to.
So it's not
to
like
do
you have your own
healthier.
office that has a doctor that would sit and talk to patients and decide what they eat or have.
Yes, there is a communication from the foundation to doctors through professional trade shows, for example, lectures and things like that. And doctors are very keen in learning into quality research, actually, and to implement, supplements that stem from this research into their practice.
So do you go to different hospitals to find hospitals that might embrace what your foundation does?
So we don't go to hospitals to sell anything, but we have approached Columbia University, for example, to promote a research program on prostate cancer. That was very successful. That led to several publications showing that both Paupera and Revolvia extracts were indeed effective against prostate cancer cells, non-toxic. They demonstrated the mechanism of action. And then one day, Dr. Katz was speaking at a conference about his research, his results, and I get, something like that. And it was actually a doctor from Kansas University Medical Center who told me, but you are associated with the Beljanski Foundation? Yes, it's you. And she said, that's fantastic. Do you have something for women? And I said, yes, the same thing, because it's not gender or organ specific. Okay. So we have been able to work at Kansas University Medical Center on ovarian and pancreatic cancer with the same compounds, and we have been able to show that those compounds were working alone, again non-toxic, but also to show the synergy of effect with chemotherapies like gemcitabine or carboplatin. That's very important for the doctors because they don't want the patient to have to choose.
Right.
Okay,
that's true.
They want to be able to have the patient go to the hospital, follow the gold standard of treatment, and at the same time provide the patient with supplements to take home that will help the patient to do better and to have a better outcome in the end.
Okay.
Yeah, and also they're noticing that certain supplements, certain products like kale or broccoli will help the intake of certain kinds of chemo medicine. And so the fact that you're doing things that will enhance the uptake of medicine or help delete the side effects of it out of your body.
Right.
So, like when you take radiation, you get radiation and you got to get rid of the toxins. So different things. One of the other things that I found fascinating was, we always talk about different books out there that are available for you and always trying to find more information so that you, our audience, can decide for yourself. And one of the things that I love is finding different books. So if you have written a book or you know of a book that's wonderful, please, by all means, contact us at info@cancertamer.org and give us that information. One new book that we found was actually Winning the War Against Cancer by Sylvie Beljanski. So we have her here and she can tell us a little bit about the book. And I started reading it, but you know me, I get to where I start writing notes all over the place. So it's easier for her to tell us a little bit about what the book is about and some of the keynotes about the book.
Yeah, so the book is about how there are two levels of the story. There is, of course, the foundation, how everything was almost destroyed in France, and what it took to start all over again here in the States. And it's also my personal story and my epic journey. The subtitle is The Epic Journey Towards a Natural Cure. The epic journey is the epic journey of natural medicine, but also my epic journey, because nothing at the beginning was, I thought it was would never be for me, this kind of research. I grew up surrounded with sick people coming home all the time, and I was saying, I will never get involved into that when I grow up. But it's really when I saw how the French government tried to suppress everything, and then the cover up behind after that really started me, and I decided to understand what was behind, what they were trying to destroy. And then I got, in love, enamored with this research, which I believe is beautiful, can make a difference in people's lives. So that's why I decided to write the book, to share the message and share this information.
Which is wonderful. And one of the things that we talk about is cancer patients being able to write their own story. Right. And we just did the breast cancer diaries, where we actually used stories from 50 plus people and told their story throughout the play. Men and women's stories. And so what I love about this book is I was fascinated with your dad's story when you were talking about it, and SWAT coming to your house. And so the idea of we all have a different journey, and how we connect that journey on our path to health, on our path to helping others even be able to do things and make better choices for themselves.
Right. I have a question. So what lessons did you learn from your father that brought you to this point?
That the work is never finished. I would say that there is so much to do and it's never finished. It's a labor of love. You have to be passionate about what you are doing because it's so difficult. But if you love it, it carries you, and it gives you wonderful opportunity, like being here today. And I'm grateful for that very much.
Did you understand as a child how hard he worked and how dedicated he was?
I was experiencing that because, science is very demanding, so he was physically there, but you could tell that his mind was always, he was thinking about his work, and he couldn't, as an adult, I realized that he could never have done all those breakthrough discoveries if he had not been passionate and captivated by what he was doing. But, as a little brat growing up,
but you wanted my daddy. Right, that's true.
Which is one of those pieces of realizing that the individuals that are out there doing all these studies, whether they're focusing on finding a cure for cancer or breast cancer or prostate cancer, or how they bring supplements and natural healing
and just healthy, make someone healthy.
Yeah, and the fact that a lot of the times we focus on on the big pharmaceuticals, but we forget that there's holistic care out there as well, or using different supplements and products and stuff like that that's all natural, that can actually help us, sometimes even more than the regular standard care of treatment, and understanding of how to be able to do that. So talking to your doctor about how can you supplement your intake. Like we talked about how when you're on the anostrozole and the Arumidex, that destroys your bone density. And so how can you then work towards making sure that you have you take something that's going to help you keep your bone density, and it won't destroy it, or at least reduce the impact. And so, it's talking to your doctor, it's doing your own research. Because a lot of the times I find that most of the doctors are so stuck in, well, not only busy, but they're stuck in the mindset of what they've learned. And they're only in this box, and they refuse. A lot of them refuse to go outside of that box. So if you mention, I heard about vitamin D, they're like, no, that's really not true. It's like, but there's over 5,000 studies that were done on vitamin D and how it's if you don't have the right levels, it's not good for you when you get sicker, and some of them won't accept that, and that's just like one example. And so making sure, I guess I'm advocating for the fact, as we always do,
advocate for yourself.
Yeah, to advocate for yourself, to learn for yourself, to go out and do the research and do the study, and find other organizations that are available. And it is that one piece that we don't ever try to tell you what to do. We don't tell you what medicine to take, or what supplements to take, or what not to do, or what exercises. We give you the understanding that there's more out there than just the norm.
Right, you have to do your homework.
Yeah, so your health is what's the most precious thing that you have. So why, when you have a kind of box tool, why would you dismiss from the beginning half of the tools? You want to use all of them as needed.
Right. And we and we'll wrap up in 1 second, but Debra and I just did a workshop with international doctors from China, and we were talking about all of the things and how to talk to your patients and how to be able to give them information about what to do and how the cancer is going to progress and how they can live life. And the different stuff. And that one doctor said, well, aren't you just scaring patients?
It was very hard to contain myself after that. She was afraid I was going to really yell. But what I did say is, do you want to wait till you're stage 4? Or you want to hear it at stage 1? Like, why would you not want to talk about it and learn?
Right. But not
that's a cultural thing.
And our thing wasn't about treatment. Our thing was about helping you to live with the cancer better. And finances and lymphedema pillows and so on and so forth, and how to advocate for yourself. And that was what they felt was by doing that education, we were scaring people, which also, don't get me started about the new discussion that they did on the cancer crisis here in Staten Island, where they changed the study that Mayor Cuomo had given them, and instead of looking at the difference between why Staten Island was so much higher in cancer statistics than New York City, they changed the study into making it all of New York State.
Right.
And then they only focused on thyroid cancer because their quote, or I'm quoting from what they said, was, well, if you don't look for it, you won't find it.
Of course, and that was Governor Cuomo, right?
Yeah.
Governor Cuomo?
Not that he said that.
Right, no, but I'm saying that the whole study was Governor Cuomo.
So we'll talk about that one in our next discussion. But I want to thank Sylvie Beljanski from the Beljanski Foundation here in New York City. If you want to know more information about her foundation, and what they do, and the studies that her father started, and that they've continued, please contact us at info@cancertamer.org. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.